Hi Alexis, my name is Jackie and I am the library director here at Blue Mountain Community College. Your question was forwarded to me by our staff person who answers our just general library email. So, because you're asking actually a very tough question. You're asking a question about what is kind of the appropriate or perhaps best intervention into or best weight loss therapy, best exercise therapy for I'm just going to say patients or clients, is cardio versus strength training or aerobic versus anaerobic. The reason it's a tough question, I think, is medical questions tend to be tough for a couple of reasons. One is they're highly popularized, right? You can't go to the grocery store without seeing every magazine from Prevention, Shape, Women's Health talking about which is better, cardiovascular versus or aerobic versus strength training for weight loss. So it's highly popularized. I think the other difficult thing is when you actually start looking deeply at medical questions, you can really kind of unearth how complicated they are and the research that goes into reaching those conclusions. Just really quick, if you plan ultimately to go into a medical profession, the questions in the medical field usually are addressed. They're called PICO questions. PICO, P-I-C-O. Sometimes they're called PICOT. But PICO stands for patient, the intervention. The C stands for correlating causes. So you might be looking at different interventions. You might be comparing. So in this case, cardio training versus strength training. And then the outcome, which is weight loss. So what's difficult there is those nuances. So if you're trying to really study the patient, you usually have to study like patients, right? So you often see in a random trial of, women over the age of 40 with type 2 diabetes, this intervention, strength training, made a difference in this outcome compared to, and they don't always do the same comparison in the article. You might have to find a second article that looked at the same population, women over the age of 40 with type 2 diabetes, intervention, strength training, outcome, this. And the outcome with weight loss in particular is definitely one, because the other thing you might look at, for example, is the patient overweight? Is the patient obese? The patient's usually within an age group, like I mentioned in that example. And the outcome might be different because weight loss leads to different outcomes. I mean, aside from weight reduction, which of course generally is a benefit, the outcome they may have been originally sought in the research question may have been, I'm trying to work on mitigating cardiovascular disease issues. Weight loss usually results in better, cardiovascular health. The question could have been weight loss reduces the stress on bones, so it reduces osteoarthritis issues in our aging population, that sort of thing. So if it starts becoming really complicated, I guess is what I'm trying to illustrate. So that's probably why you're not finding things that are working out, is because those questions are tough. So I believe you are, I'm going to try to cover four resources. I think 2 of our library databases, because I believe you're in Writing 115. You need at least 2 articles from our databases. If I am correct, I think you're in Dr. Jordan's class, and 2 resources from the library databases. I'm also going to walk you quickly through Google Scholar and PubMed. And again, if you're going to a medical health profession, you need to know PubMed and Google Scholar, actually. So this is probably going to take 2 videos. I'm so sorry. If you can come meet me in person, we could talk for half an hour rather than me doing a video. But I'm going to do my best to try and show you what we have in a couple videos. So starting with some of our library databases. I'm assuming you've already been to our library databases from your email, and I'm assuming you have a library card number. Let us know if you don't. We can set you up. So library databases, college homepage, click on library, and here we are. Top library databases. I'm going to show you these 2. We've already gone, forget these, we've already gone to an advanced search here. We're asking a real specific kind of population question and intervention question. We're not browsing around for pros and cons. We're looking a little bit more deeply here. And I'm going to walk you through Academic One file first, and then we will look at Academic Search Complete. And I'll do this really quickly because I mostly just want to show you how to use it. So again, it's tough, right? There's a couple things to think about. One is you know, if it's a clinical question, you're really looking at a particular thing. You are really looking at weight loss. So let's type that in. Being mindful that weight loss could be weight loss, weight reduction, diet reduction. I mean, instead of weight loss, we could use any of those terms. As you browse through weight loss intervention, I didn't even say that one, right? Weight loss and exercise is where we might want to go with this. So we can start with this, but be mindful of changing those terms around can make a difference in your search. So right now we're going to put in weight loss and exercise. If we alter the search a little bit and type in diet and exercise, that might bring up different results. If we go back and type in diet and aerobic exercise, or strength training exercise, or weight loss and physical fitness, physical activity, can make a difference. I know it's a pain, but that's how it is. You know, if you had a particular population at this point, that's something I would recommend. If you wanted to look at weight loss and exercise and say, I don't know, teenagers, adolescents, that might really help you out here. If you want to look at older adults, pick a range of older adults. So you might want to, if you want to look at gerontology, which is, you know, people 65 and older, generally might be far down to 60, do that. If you want to look at people in their 20s and 30s, do that, because it's huge. So let's just go ahead and try this. And so how this database works, there's a couple things to look at. So what comes up first are academic journals. These tend to be scholarly. These are those, just reading right here, you can see through the articles like, this is complicated, right? We are looking at weight loss, exercise, all through the high density lipoprotein lipidome. But you might have a background in this that's easy for you to read, but for, I think, most students, that's difficult to read. So something to keep in mind. Magazines, these are going to be the things that you'll see, again, usually at like the grocery store, for example. You know, the Publishers Weekly, Healthy Years, Women's Health Advisor. I'm sorry, that's what I'm looking at right there. This looks like it's actually a book review. Yeah, and even tells us it's a book review. So it's a totally different reading level. So just be mindful of that. I'm going to go ahead and go back to academic journals just because. So I want to show you a couple things. One is what to do if you find an article that you like. So one thing you might want to do is start browsing through, seeing if there's something that you're interested in. Here's something very specific here. Effects of weight loss and exercise on trunk muscle composition. Trunk, of course, right here, right the trunk of your body. I'm not going to stand up and show you my trunk, but and I don't know if I'm older or not. I probably am. Depends on how they define it. You might find this really interesting. So let's pretend you do. Let's just pretend, because trunk muscle composition, as you probably know, is a huge health predictor as far as everything, especially in older adults. For everything from balance, so reducing hip fractures, to less, visceral and subcutaneous fat. So anyway, we could go on this further. So if you find an article that you like, there's a couple things that you can do to get it. One is, this is available as a PDF. You can just download it, save it. If you have Google Drive, you can just send it right to your Google Drive. Some people love that. Or you can email it to yourself. Or, of course, you can just read it online. You're going to need to cite it. So citation tool, click there. And the default is MLA edition, which you're using for this class. If you were in COM 111, your speech class, at some point you'd be using APA. You click there and it switches for you. It's pretty cool. And in general, this is pretty accurate in general. So just to keep in mind, it's actually usually pretty good. For MLA, you will, you can just grab this whole thing, copy and paste it into your works cited page. But the thing you'll want to delete is this. Your instructor actually does not want the web link. You can forget. You don't need to include that. If this was truly from a web page and not through our library databases, then of course you would include the web address, but not if it's from a library database. That's not necessary. Your faculty member will be able to see that, okay, yes, the student got it from Academic One file. They got it from a database. That will be your verification that you might need. So just to keep that in mind. But you can see right here, this is really, again, depends on, so really complicated. But they do have an age group. So if this was your age group, if it selected one, in this case, women 50 to 70, postmenopausal women, popular group, this might be useful. If you had picked, adolescents, like, kids in that, I don't know, 13 to 19-year-old age, that's something to think about. So there's that. Going back to or I could click on search results here. Maybe that's better sometimes. Okay, so there's that. There's just so much to cover. I'm sorry. I wish you could come see me in person. So if you're not satisfied with this search and you want to narrow it down a little bit more, there's a couple things you can do. One, always feel free to go back up here and change this. Say, you want to go back and say, I really want to do diet and exercise. That might give me something a little bit more specific. Or I want to do weight loss and physical activity. In fact, let's just see what looks different here. And then I can show you my next example. And see, if we didn't even look at this, we didn't look at weight maintenance or weight management. There's a difference between weight reduction and then long-term weight maintenance. Aha, another complication. Physical, let's do activity, not fitness. So you can see right here that changed that search immediately. We went from 600 to 268 just for that search term alone. Oh, interesting. Combined effects of weight loss and physical activity on all-cause mortality of overweight men and women. And this one actually looks pretty good. You might want to take a look at that. But so one thing that you can do right here is we looked at weight loss and physical activity. Again, I could have used the word diet instead. That may have changed things. But if you want to look within these results, again, you can always change this. If you want to search within the results saying, as you can see, I practiced. If you want to say, let's focus on aerobic, you can hit search. That's going to narrow that search further. We're now down to 87 academic journals that focus on aerobic activity and weight loss. And again, it might be, looking at a little bit more type 2 diabetes, of course, is huge since it's such an epidemic. But that might really, again, clinical interventions might help you, may not. So, and if you want to take that out, you can always take that out, and we're back now to our weight loss and physical activity. If you then wanted to try strength training or strength conditioning, weight training, it's just such a pain. I tried strength training. We're down to 23 that look at that. And so these articles, the American College of Sports Medicine issues new exercise guidelines. That might be awesome. Okay, so you know how to find this, right? So we did physical weight loss and physical activity and strength training. But of course, you can always go back to that original search and type in American College of Sports Medicine. You can even go to Google and look up the agency, American College of Sports Medicine, and see what they find. So again, I'm going to undo this to get us back to our larger search. Because the other thing you can do right here is narrow down further. So if you wanted to specifically look at, say, a population with obesity, you can limit like that. If you're specifically looking at populations with type 2 diabetes, certainly you can look at that, the elderly, et cetera, et cetera. So let's go ahead and let's do type 2 diabetes. Interesting, they're looking at effects of physical activity and weight loss on skeletal muscle mitochondria. Again, I don't know your knowledge base. This might be like, what in the world is this? But it might be really relevant. So I'm going to close out of this. I actually found some cool stuff earlier. Let me find this. Oh yeah, I typed in weight loss and physical activity. That was helpful. And that's what we just tried. Oh, I did do a basic search. Again, going back, I tried at one point diet and aerobic exercise, and then I added the subject term of weight loss here. So my original search up here, it was diet and aerobic exercise, and then I added on the side here weight loss, and found some good, I thought, some interesting articles. Okay, so that's one database. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Sorry, it's fast. And I'm going to do one more quick database research on EBSCO, which might be a little bit better. In fact, I might say start with that one. And then we'll look at a couple other things. So, okay, great. Tuning out of this one. We'll be back and do EBSCO in a sec.